Rearmed Reinhardt brings Arcane Thunder as the Arcane Blue Tome, and this is a 14 might weapon, giving you minus on special cooldown, and if your HP is at or above 25% at sort of combat, then you're able to get +5 to all of your stats, and you also get special cooldown charge +1 on both your attacks and the enemy's attacks, and then you're also able to nullify any kind of visible buffs of foe on their speed and resistance, so it is dealt speed resistance in a way, and then finally, you're able to get null follow-up based on your speed. If you outspeed the opponent, then you're going to be getting the full null follow-up, which is going to be a really good thing for many of the fast blue mages. This can be compared to Arcane Euphoria that we did get a couple of months back, and it is definitely a weapon that is more suited towards slow units because of its guaranteed follow-up attack, and it is also going to be helping you in the AoE builds because it does give you true damage based on 15% of the attack stat of a unit, and that is going to be getting added into the AoE specials. It also gives you the damage reduction, so it can be helpful to the slower mages that are bulky, and you can even use this on faster units as you can stack up Remote Sparrow and Fleeting Echo as the damage reduction skills. But Arcane Thunder is just going to be an amazing weapon for many of the fast units, especially Cavalry and Fliers, because they don't really have easy access to full null follow-up, and when it comes to the infantry units, it is going to be freeing them up from running null follow-up in the slot B or the Pledge slot C skills, or even the Loud skills in the slot B, so you can just run some other options, and if you do get new skills on these slots, then it is going to be a good thing for many of the infantry units. But you can still get the special charges with Arcane Euphoria if you run the Pledge skill. It really depends on your fodder. If you don't have it, then Arcane Thunder is going to be better on any kind of faster unit. And if you give the appropriate prerequisite fodder, then you're able to get all of the premium skills from Rearmed Reinhardt at the same time. So you can use the original Reinhardt for Thoron or even Grail Brunia if you can get her, because she also provides you with Resistance Smoke 3, so you can get Defense Res Smoke 3 at the same time. And the tier 4 version of Fortress is going to be useful if you're going to be foddering him to any kind of Flyer or Cavalier, because it does have minimum counter 1. So it is still kind of premium with a lot of the seasonal units, but it is present in the Divine Codes, so you can also try and get this. For the tier list, I'm going to be following this criteria, and these stats are going to be really important because you cannot really run any kind of preferred skills with arcane weapons, and speed matters quite a lot with this kind of weapon that gives you null follow-up on outspeeding the opponent. And there are definitely going to be a couple of units that just use Arcane Euphoria better because they are not really fast enough for the usage of Arcane Thunder. Starting with infantry units, I've got Lind in the tier 1, and I was kind of surprised that a Gen 1 blue infantry unit was actually in the top of the blue mages because of her offensive stat spread. So base 47 attack and base 51 speed is actually pretty good, and it is going to be the best one out of all of these infantry blue mages. And Ishtar is going to be getting an upgrade with this weapon compared to her Weapon Refine, which only gives her the half null follow-up. So she can still run the Windsweep builds, but now getting the full null follow-up and also the dull speed resistance. Cyan Lewin is also going to be enjoying this skill, and I guess he can also make use of the Ploy skill if you really want to, but his resistance is not really insanely high, but definitely much more workable than a lot of the mages. Muriel is going to be enjoying this weapon as well, and it is going to be her best weapon. Tail 2 has got a pretty old Weapon Refine, so this is going to be a much better weapon. And same goes for Delthea starting off tier 2. And Ophelia has been in the Refine jail, so who really knows if she's ever going to be getting a Weapon Refine or not. But just keep in mind that if you want to keep the AoE playstyle with Ophelia, then Arcane Euphoria is going to be better because of its true damage. If you don't really want to run an AoE special, then you can run Arcane Thunder. And then Tatiana is also going to be there despite the fact that she's not really as fast as many of the tier 1 and tier 2 units, but still she does have workable enough speed stat, and she can also make use of her resistance to trigger the ploy skills, and she does it much better than any of the blue infantry mages. So that is going to be helpful, especially if you ascend her resistance super boon, which is going to be helping you trigger ploy skills even easily. Even though Cliff has got a pretty decent weapon, he can still try and get the effects out of this weapon in form of full null follow-up and dull speed resistance. If you're a big Cliff fan, his weapon is still usable, but if you do want to get the other skills and stack it up with some of the other slot B and slot C options, then this could be done. And then finishing off tier 3, I've got Bright Sita and also Spring Lucina. They're pretty old as seasonal Gen 1 units, but still they can make use of this because of their speed. Their offensive stat spread are not really as good as the units above them, but still, it is going to be their best option. And then finally, we have got Odin Dark here with his 34 base attack, and a lot of units already have good preferred weapons. You can try and wait before you give this weapon to Ilyana or Guinevere, because Ilyana should be getting a weapon refine in a couple of months. She is next in line when it comes to the demote refines after Mustafa, and she could even, skip the line and get a weapon refine a lot earlier. Guinevere is also a book 4 unit, so she should be getting a weapon refine late in this year. Blue Infantry mages have a lot of options with this weapon, especially when it frees them up from running so many of the slot B and slot C skills. And you can just try and run Windsweep if you don't really have anything else to give to them in their slot B. And this can help you against many of the physical matchups. You can also run Finish Kill in their slot A so that you can get the true damage and the healing. But true damage is definitely the main focus, as you can pre-charge it with Time Pulse 4. And it can also help you against any kind of magical unit because you're going to be able to trigger Glimmer twice in a single round of combat. You can also go with Desperation 4 with an Oath for skill or even Oath Echo Attune skill, because you're going to be able to get the Desperation while having Null Follow-up. And this is going to be a really good option, especially if you run the unit with Brattle Catria or Winter Cordelia and get the quad attack. It is going to be getting stopped by any kind of Hardy Bearing tank, so you'll have to watch out for them. And then, because you're an infantry unit, you can stack up the true damage along with pre-combat damage of Occultist Strike. So it is going to be a good option because you already have all of the things built up in this weapon. So a lot of these slot B skills are going to be redundant. So this could be an option, and you're not able to get Flared Sparrow, unfortunately, but still, Finish Kill is going to be giving you that true damage. And the best skill to be run with this weapon is unfortunately not available as of making this video, but I still want to future-proof my video. So that skill is Speed Resistance Tempo 4. So having Null Guard along with any kind of weapon that can give you special charges is really good. And this is also going to be giving you the damage reduction piercing, which other movement types don't really have access to. So whenever this skill comes out in the future, it is going to be the go-to option with Arcane Thunder. We do have the tier 3 version and Divine Code, so until then you can try and use that. But the damage reduction piercing is really helpful and should be run with this weapon. And with this weapon, you're going to be able to retaliate back with Flare, and the Finish Kill is also pretty nice when you're able to trigger your specials easily by the use of the Tempo skill. And Tatiana does have the Resistance Super Boon, so she can run the Ploy skill to support herself and also her allies. You can also run Speed Resistance Tempo with a remote skill in the slot A, so it is going to be giving you that damage reduction. And Fleeting Echo is going to be a pretty nice attune skill that you can use to stack up the damage reduction and then survive the enemy's counterattack and then retaliate back with a flare on your double. So that's also something that you can do with this weapon. And then finally, you can also run Bonus Doubler 4 and just fully buff up a unit and run them with Young Eliwood or Legendary Eliwood and get the triple bonus doubler. It is going to be helping with a unit like Cliff, who does have a lot better bulk than many of the blue mages, and you can just use Flare's healing for the self-sustain. So unfortunately, this skill is not available, but you can prepare for it by having the tier 3 version from the Divine Codes on Monica. Cavaliers make amazing use out of Arcane Thunder, and Summer Tharja is going to be leading the way with her base 54 speed and also base 51 attack, and that is really good for a tier 1 mage. There is a bit of gap between her and Valentine Veronica that we've got in the free-to-play pool, so she is going to be in tier 2. And then in tier 3 we do have Olwen, who's going to be making good use out of her brother's Tome, and unfortunately she doesn't really have the highest attack stat, but can definitely make use of that speed and even resistance if you want to give her the Ploy skill. And then I've got a lot of Cavaliers in tier 3 because they have pretty similar stat spread with Spring Catria, Valentine Soren, Laura Shell, who can also make use of the Ploy skills, and also Ursula, and then finally Pent. And Arcane Euphoria is actually much better for original Reinhardt, which is a bit funny. And then finally we do have Selena, who should be getting a weapon refine probably very late in this year, because she is a book 5 unit, not exactly a book 4 unit, but the earliest of book 5 units. So she's probably going to be next in line after we finish the book 4 with the whole weapon refines and everything. But if you really cannot wait, then I do completely understand, and this weapon is still going to be pretty good on her. Blue Mage Cavaliers can just get the tier 4 version of Fortress and Defense Res Smoke 3 at the same time while getting Arcane Thunder, and this is going to be helping you set up that Pathfinder and help your teammates. For the slotty, you can try and run attack speed catch 4 from the divine codes, but Remote Sparrow is ultimately going to be a bit better skill, which can help you in the survival with Fleeting Echo if you do have that attune skill. And you can run Glimmer as your special because you can pre-charge it pretty easily by using Duochrome or any kind of pulse support, and then you're going to be able to proc 2 Glimmers in a single round of combat in the player phase if the enemy counterattacks. And for the counterattack, we are stacking up the damage reduction. Ultimately, you can run Flared Sparrow as the premium slotty option, and Desperation 4 is going to be a pretty easy option for many of these Cavaliers, as they don't really have the hardest time meeting its check for getting another follow-up attack in before the enemy can counterattack. And you can also trigger your Glimmer on the double attack. And Inside Attack Speed is going to be a very premium slotsy skill that you can run to stack up even more speed. Any kind of Mage Cavalier with workable enough resistance can try and run the Ploy skill so that they can bring more value to the team by debuffing the enemies and also take the advantage of it themselves. We only have one speed ploy skill as of making this video, but in the future, whenever we get speed resistance ploy, that is also going to be an option that you can run along with this weapon. And then finally, if you want to stack up all of the pre-combat damage, then Flared Sparrow and Occultist Strike is going to be an option. And you can also run some other specials like Luna and Iceberg because you are going to be getting those special charges from this weapon. We don't really have a lot of Blue Mage armors, and half of them are going to be making use of this weapon because they don't really have a preferred weapon. Halloween Ilyana can use Arcane Euphoria a lot better, but unfortunately these armors don't really have good enough bulk to function as a Far Savior, which is already a very competitive role and also a very tough role because the nukes nowadays are absolutely absurdly powerful and they can also be really bulky with the damage reduction. So that's why you can make use of this weapon and run Special Spiral 4. The special charges is going to be helping you set up that Special Spiral 4, and you can just retaliate back with Armored Flows that are going to be piercing through the damage reduction of the enemy. And tanks nowadays do need to make sure that they can pierce the damage reduction so that their enemies don't really survive and then double them or just use their second attack to trigger a special. So you can run Kestrel Stance 3 in the slot A or even run Attack Speed Unity and try and stack it up with Legend Emil Robin's Grand Strategy. And even if you get debuffed on these stats, then it is going to be helping you. Unfortunately, a lot of the armor skills are simply redundant with Arcane Thunder because Savvy Fighter is going to be giving you that null follow-up that you already have in your weapon, and then Special Fighter is going to be giving you those special charges, which again you already have in the weapon. So Special Spiral 4 is pretty much going to be the best option you can run. For the Blue Mage Flyers, Plagian Katarina is going to be leading the way in Tier 1 with her offensive stat spread, and even though she does have a preferred weapon, this could still be a really good option with her speed, and Brattle Juno also makes amazing use out of this. Loot is going to be one of the mages that is going to be using Ploy skill better than rest of them, so she's going to be there in Tier 2. And then Summer Kabila is also going to be there. A lot of people did get her last year in the Hall of Fame Survival, so she can definitely appreciate Arcane Thunder. And then Gen 1, Summer Corrin is also going to be able to run this. And even though Brattle Ninian doesn't really have too high of an attack stat, if you want to fully deck her out, then this is going to be the option. And then Halloween Sophia and Female Morgan simply use Arcane Euphoria a lot better. The options for any kind of Mage Flyer is going to be pretty straightforward with running Remote Sparrow or Flared Sparrow in the slot A, and you can run Fortress as you can just get it along with Arcane Thunder. And this is going to be working really well on these Flyers because if they do teleport using something like Attack Oath Echo or Soaring Guidance, then they're going to be able to trigger Canto 1 at the bare minimum. So the Fortress skill has become a lot better now with its Tier 4 version, so it is worth using on these Flyers if you cannot really run Occultist Strike in the slot B. And if you do have the resistance like Loot, then you can also run the Ploy skill. You always have the option of running higher cooldown specials, but you can pre-charge low cooldown specials like Glimmer and Ruptured Sky and easily trigger it twice in a single round of combat, even against guard effects. This is going to be my final Arcane Thunder tier list, and a lot of Blue Mages use this really well, but a lot of them also just prefer having Arcane Euphoria, and honestly I didn't really expect a blue Arcane Tome yet again after a couple of months. And I hope that we can get an Arcane Red Tome as well because that's been out for a long time at this point. So let me know in the comments what you think about this, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps you tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more FE videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as original Reinhardt with Arcane Thunder. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.